Hey, it's Spence from WP Launchify, and today I want to talk about a new technique that I've developed. I think other people are using it too. It's called the bounce method. When I have an agentic tool like Claude Desktop, and I also have web browser-based Claude, sometimes it's more beneficial when I have two copies bouncing off of each other, sharing data, trying to solve problems. Now, I've got this actually running in the background, and this is what I've done to make it easier for me, because again, these are just personal tips I'm sharing with you. On the left side is the browser-based version of Claude. It is using Sonnet 4. I believe Sonnet 4.5 is the new model, but I was still running an old chat in Sonnet 4, which was quite good. But I think Sonnet 4.5 might be bridging the gap of what I'm about to tell you. On the right side, and I don't want to interrupt it, is Opus. Opus was 4.1. I don't want to interrupt it. And I think it's still 4.1. Opus was the larger, more expensive scaled model that allowed for complex reasoning. It could go on and think about things. It had a larger context window. Think of it like a scientist researching in the laboratory versus somebody at the fast food window. What's your order, please? I think Sonnet 4.5 might be a little bit in between, but here's what the bounce method does. On the left-hand side is the testing tool. On the right-hand side is the development tool. Yesterday in my video, I had some difficulty because the DXT files were not properly addressing the WordPress site. And I asked my testing tool to see if it could figure out what was going on. When it gave me that information, what I did is ask it to summarize that so that I could share that information with the development tool. So let's go back into my chat here and see if I can find the exact spot. I did have, by the way, 100% full success, and now I'm packaging up the final version for delivery to you and anyone else who was giving me thumbs up yesterday. So here's where I was doing the testing, and it wasn't working out. And then I gave it some information. I said, didn't we at one point in time use successfully your built-in tools, Node.js server, to get the result? And it said, aha, you're right, that's the problem. So we gave it a try, and I said, give me a succinct summary of this question to give to my LLM. And it gave me this bit here. Now, I don't want to interrupt Opus because he's busy coding version 5.08 over there. But what I'll do is show you what happened. Is I took that information and I gave it over to Opus. And even though he's working over there, I can probably do it here. I can show you where I gave that to him or her. I don't know what it is. And it was able to come up with this version 5.07. It was like, aha, that exactly makes sense. So let me go to that point right here. I said, that version doesn't work, and I'm confused because I know we've had this working before, but I'm not sure it was because some other way we're using the built-in Node.js servers. And then I pasted that exact bit. So here's the bounce. The less sophisticated, the less expensive, the conversational Sonnet, at the time 4.0, I was able to use to try the stuff, see if it worked. And when it didn't work, I asked it to summarize what it thought the problem was that I then gave in another window, or I could just bounce back and forth between different chats in the same desktop. I gave it to the more sophisticated development tool. And then the sophisticated development tool gave back a plugin, which I installed to Claude Desktop. Using Claude Desktop and the testing tool, it was able to run the test, and it worked. And then everything else here, you can see I'm excited. Fantastic. That's great. Everything else from there was fantastic and worked. A final part of bouncing. Once it was done, I asked the development tool to write out what they call an MD, a Markdown document that specifically said exactly what it did, how it did it, why it did it, how it worked. And that way, in the future, it could refer to that as a memory. So the takeaway is three-step process. And now we got the final version here that has other tools. Number one, use two tools. Use a conversational level testing tool that can also work with your desktop or whatever plugins. Use a development tool that maybe is a larger model, a little more expensive, but well worth it. have the testing tool run the things of the development tool, and then give back notes to the development tool. When the development tool succeeds, ask the development tool to make a Markdown document step by step, giving every detail about why it worked. And then keep those files. So for example, I'm going to leave this alone, but using my 2-color system, when I use my chat over here, if I go to what was just done, right, over on this window, I can still see what Opus did. I'm going to take his Markdown file, her Markdown file, and let's see where it is. It's giving me a bunch of notes here. Okay. So I'll create a comprehensive Markdown file with the architecture, and then the Markdown file is right here. So I'm going to download this, and I'm going to save this inside of my project file. My project file right now is in GitHub. I use GitHub as my repository of truth, and these Markdown documents are useful because in the future, they're a way to backtrack or backpedal on how I move from A to B to C. Now, a lot of this is geeky and technical, and I'm just experimenting with this new channel. So for a lot of you guys, simplify this down to just the basic concept of 2 different LLMs, different capabilities bouncing off, have them each give notes about how they achieve what they achieved in their own words, save those things, and then feed those back into the future. And then you're going to get an exponential return on your investment of time. Because here, for example, now that I've done that, I was able to create a version 5.08. I started at 5.0 this morning, which has a ton of new stuff in it, including integrating the file manager tools, including putting in a bunch of WordPress features and functions for doing things like configurations and settings. And I think I'll share with you how this works out. But look what we got. Version 5.08, simplified the name, added the file manager tools, added settings tools, added better documentation, and added 35 new tools, which I'll share with you in my next video. But you can kind of see what I've got here, including settings and more. Real exciting times. See you in the next video.